Welcome to Build and Grow with Real Estate, where we talk about real estate and how to build the kind of life that you want for yourself. My name is Josh Weidman. I'm an investor and a hard money lender with Hard Money Bankers. HMB provides private funding for real estate investors in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Northern Virginia, and Washington, D.C. If you'd like to know how you can get all the funding for your next real estate investment project, I've got a free report that you're going to absolutely love. It's called 7 Steps to a Guaranteed Hard Money Loan Approval. You can download the free report by simply going to the link at the top of this video. If you are listening to this on a podcast, you can check out the description, and the link is in the description. So check it out, download it, read it. It's all the info you need to get all the funding you need. So my guest today, well, all right, most people spend their lives as employees, right? Happy to earn a good income, raise their families, and then live their lives, and that's great. A small minority of the population, they live and breathe their work, driven by this goal of achieving this high level of success. But there's an even smaller minority of people who find their fulfillment in helping those entrepreneurs that, reach their uncommon drive. They're the ones that work behind the scenes without much knowledge or acknowledgement, without much acknowledgement, who make it possible for entrepreneurs and business owners and visionaries to reach these really great high levels of achievement. Today's guest is one of those people. Jeremy Basore is a longtime fan of the show who really finds fulfillment in helping other people achieve. So let's jump into the interview.
Backtrack. I know a lot of things. I know how to do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, if I can't control my time and be there for my kids, any of my kids when it matters, I'm not. And that's a big part of my life has been, doing what you need to control your time. And there's several ways that people can do that. And if I want to be able to show anybody anything, it's that parents that have kids with disabilities, that they can be there with their kids. It's just, you got to do those action steps to get there.
You know what's interesting too? I've talked to so many people that have had, with kids with disabilities or either learning disabilities, physical challenges, or other things in life that are unexpected. And not one of them has said, "Oh man, this was such a negative impact, had such a negative impact on my life."
Like that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
You don't understand what people mean when they say that, because you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, there ain't no way, but there is a way. I lacked I admit this. I had the least amount of patience in life for many things. Yeah, like sitting at a red light too long, like that, just ticked me off. But when he came around and I started to realize why he does things the way he does, like he has to open the door first, and like if we're going down the steps, or I have to let him, decide if he wants to go with mom or dad after school's over for a little bit, so he can kind of have his me time and before he comes home to the other siblings, just so that he gets his time. But we're learning a lot about each other, and it takes an incredible amount of patience. And that's, so when you think you have it made, because your first 2 kids, they're self-sufficient, they take care of themselves, like my daughter, my oldest child, she was potty trained before she could talk at, about a year old. So you talk about at 19, when you're gifted that kind of child, like I got a good curveball, man. Oh.
Well, so what is interesting? I've noticed in my own life, right? I'm a firm believer that, that saying, like, God only gives you what you can handle. Like, he won't give you more. I think that's such baloney. I think it's total BS. I think it's more like he's going to give you so much that you can't handle it. So you got to turn to somebody else. You need to turn and either call on him or a friend or family member. Like, you need the environment and the people around you. Like, nobody's an island.
My mom's best friend told me that at my mother's funeral. She told me that because, I was fighting for custody of my older 2 kids. And, I just kind of thought the world was coming to an end. And she was just like, oh, yeah. She's like, you'll get more. My dog died like 3 days later. My grandma, who lived with me and raised me, died like 12 days later. You know what I mean? It was like, so I started to see it and I was like, damn, I was like, this really does happen. I was like, but and then you move on, you live and learn, man. And you appreciate the things that you go through for the experiences. You don't understand it then, Another good thing is somebody told me about a lot of the negative things that happen in your life is that you go through those things so that later that somebody else that's close to you and means something that you'll be able to get them through that. And I spend a lot of time doing that for a lot of people. So
that's awesome. Well, so look, I'm going to try to take you through these questions, and like, I know you're not prepped for them, so this might be even better, right? Mm-hmm. Why don't we do this? Let's start by, give me your personal highlight reel. Like what I want to see. Like, talk to me about what you're doing now. What you're involved in, what you've done in the past, or what were some of the pivotal moments around, along the way. And like we're talking highlights, so you feel free to dig in as much as or as little as you want, but
sure.
Just tell us about you.
Well, I got started working at 15 years old, man. I mean, my dad passed away when I was 10. It was a pretty tragic, unforeseen event. He actually took his own life. I'm very open about that. I always put myself out there and available to anybody that is ever feeling like that too, because there's always a way out. But things got tough. My mom couldn't afford to do simple things like keep the lights on and crap like that. It does make me a little emotional, things like that too. So pardon me if I get a little choked up, but I'm authentic. I'm 100% real with people. But you look at something like that, 14 years old, and you start asking yourself, like, what can you do to try to help out the situation, because you don't want to be the weird kid in school that doesn't have the things that they need, yada yada yada. But
yeah.
So I got simple stuff like paper route, did that, cut yards, did yard work for people. I learned at an early age that even from sports, that a lot of things is about who you know, not what you know. And
sure.
So I learned to talk just to start talking to people, and that's it. So Jason, ironically today, for what I'm doing today in the moving business, swears that he only pays me to talk, and that's partially true, but what I do in the moving business is I'll go out a lot of times. I'll estimate jobs, projects, things that need a lot of, specific attention to detail, that, it's not normal per se. Like anytime, like you might be moving a warehouse, a factory, things like that, we'll do that. We just moved to Manheim Township Middle School. So that was a pretty cool, fun project. And then of course we love our residential, move jobs. Of course, that's, the bread and butter of any moving business. So, taking care of all the local realtors. I've spent a lot of time, getting to know a lot of people in the central PA region. I enjoy helping everybody. I don't have any favorites. I don't play the favorite game. There's too many of you. I think there's like 4,000 in the region or something like that.
across the nation, there's more agents than there are houses. So, hey, there's a lot.
And there's only so many companies. So I do spend time getting to know some of the other companies in the local area. I want to know who they are, how they do things. And I want to make sure that if I'm too busy or Jason's too busy, that if, we got to send somebody to a different direction, that I can confidently speak on, who that company is. And I spend a lot of my time developing those relationships with people. I understand that, again, that how important it is to ask questions and to talk, but to also know the right people and who you're, dealing with. So, I'm not perfect. I've also, I've taken on some jobs that I was like, I'm way in over my head on and things like that. And I've had to reach out, and I'm thankful for the people that, have been there to save me, because
sure,
everybody's capable of taking on more than they can chew. So, but that's kind of about what I'm doing now in the moving business. Things that I've done in the past, briefly that I spoke to you about was I was project manager for grocery store remodels or new construction. We had crews of anywhere of like 60 to 250 people. I would travel the country, predominantly the Northeast region. I would hire, train, develop, recruit, anybody for what we needed in those projects. I remember just getting thrown into it, man. I was just there to merchandise. I wanted an easy job. I was home with my kids on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then they came into me one day and they were like, oh yeah, you do your job pretty well. How would you feel about taking this project on? And it was cool. I was like, oh yeah, I'll do it. I didn't really know much about it. Next thing you know, I'm driving in New York City for 6 weeks, and I walk in and there's like 250 people there. And boy, I'm a New York sports fan, but that was a tough environment, but I made it, and fun. And I didn't know when I started even what my role as a project manager was. I remember my boss flying in from Pittsburgh, and he walks in the store, he comes in here in his suit and tie, and he's like, Carl, hey, how's it going? And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, working, just trying to push things along. He's like, yeah, I don't pay you to do that. And I'm like, what? first time in my life I've ever had somebody tell me that they don't pay me to do some sort of action that I was doing. I was, perplexed. I was like, oh my gosh. So, fast forward some years later, you find out what your role as a project manager is, or a leader, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so you live and learn, you know what I mean? There's things that I could have done better, but there was things that I did outstanding. It used to take 6 weeks for them to remodel a store. We got it down to a 3-day process.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Well, when you stop calling your employees bodies and you actually treat them like people, it's amazing what they'll do for you.
That's amazing. Actually, that kind of leads right into my next question for you is what would you say, like, it's hard to say the one thing, the one most important thing you learned, but like, what's the most important thing you've ever learned in your life?
Oh man, hey, you got siblings?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I got a sister.
We'll go back to a young age. My mom always told me that if I don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that goes in, you know what I mean? Just because you don't like the way somebody's performing their job, or, the way that a client might speak to you, there's a right way and a wrong way to handle it. You know what I mean? And I think everybody is guilty of mishandling a situation in their life. So, I'm not perfect. I'm not even going to claim to be. I'm far from it. But there's many people, I think, that can resonate with that.
I think that's awesome. And it's so funny because it's one of those cliches that you hear as a kid and you're like, man, I wish my mom would stop saying that. But
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. Like, as you get older and you start having kids of your own, you look around and you're like, I love both of you, but you just said that to your sister. I want to strangle you for saying that. Like, That's so insulting. And they don't understand, and you don't understand. But when you, like you're saying, when you implement that in your whole life, the only thing people are hearing from you are positive reinforcement. And sometimes you have to have some correction of activities or the way they're doing things, but that doesn't mean you have to attack the person. It's like, hey, listen, I'd rather have it done this way as opposed to, man, you suck. Why did you do it this way? You're terrible. And I've seen that in my own life. People say that to me.
It really stuck with me, man. I mean, I think that, no matter what workplace you're in, if everybody applied that more, intentionally throughout the day, cultures in the workplaces would be a lot better. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. What makes you feel like your best self? What inspires you?
I like to get out with nature, whether I'm in the mountains or at the ocean. And, I like my family, but I like to be alone. When I can get out and be alone, I can really focus on creating things and, and focusing on what it is that I need to be doing, no matter what task it is. So that's what I like to do. It's where I find, my peace. So I think everybody's got something that they like to do. A lot of people, they like to go to the gym and do all of that. I try to get that out when I work on the move jobs. So when I'm out there, I get it all out there. Occasionally I'll go do a junk job. You might see me cut a tree down, maybe clean up somebody's overgrown backyard, but I'd really prefer to be in the mountains or at the beach.
Well, okay. So on that note, I need some insight. In Central PA, where's your favorite place to go? Or like, where do you get
Tuckahoe Glen is probably one of the more gorgeous places here in Lancaster County. It's a small little place, it can get packed pretty quick, but they do a good job of keeping that area clean. People are respectful of the area. It's been there forever. It's got every feature that you could want: waterfalls, little swimming holes. It's an easy trail for the most part. You're not going to get stuck out there. And you can get it done depending on how quick you are, in about 3 hours.
Oh, that's great. Okay. All right. So a nice afternoon or morning walk or, time in the woods. That's great.
Yeah. Closer to your area, I like to go climb up Governor Dick if I'm feeling fancy, but getting at that tower these days is not as fun as it used to be.
But you know what? I realized as I got older, at some point, I became terrified at heights. Like Judah Hoover jumps out of airplanes, right?
Yeah,
I start. We go to LBI every summer, right? And used to sprint up the lighthouse steps, no big deal. And if you ever been in the lighthouse at LBI, the steps are metal and they're great. So you can look all the way down. At one point, I mean, I think the last couple of times we were there, I've given it like the old college try and been halfway up and just decided, you know what, it's not for me. Going back down to the water.
Yeah, man, I was recently out in Colorado with one of my good friends, Evan, and he's a big guy in real estate too. And he brought me out there to get over a lot of my fears. It was a trip that I took to get over my fears. And we're sitting there. I'm thinking that we went to the Royal Gorge to spectate. And, you know, I thought he just paid for general admission to walk in. You're looking around. The next thing you know, we're standing over at the gondola thing. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, you ready? And I was like, ready for what? It's like, you know, he's like, yeah. He's like, I got your ticket, bro. He's like, let's go. And I was like, no, I don't do these things. It's just a cart going across the line, you know, with 1,000-foot drop below you and it's all blast. Like, no big deal. I need to go out there, and I drove out with him too because I'm afraid to fly. I never flew before. I traveled 75,000 miles in 2 years as a project manager because I told the company I would not fly.
Wow.
Yeah, they paid me for it. But you know, that was the trip. That was the fear part. I was going out there to fly back so that I could start to fly. I knew I wanted to be doing things here in the near future that are going to require me to travel, especially here in real estate. And that, you know, I got to get over it. But I did not expect to be blindsided by, you know, some like Fear Factor style, you know, trip. Like that was not welcomed, but I did it. And
that's awesome.
So, you know, and that's another thing. I don't, you know, everybody's got things they're afraid of, man. So part of what I try to do as a leader every day, whether it's for people I work with directly or people that I'm just meeting for the first time, is I try to break down fears every day.
That's awesome. So I'm going to pivot a little bit, right? Now's the time to plug your business, right? So what makes you or your business unique in the marketplace? You know, I mean, like what's your unique offering?
For me, you know, I don't really, I do things for myself on a small scale, but what I really, really like to do and when I'm at my best is when I get to be an entrepreneur, not an entrepreneur. I don't like to handle, you know, the day-to-day things that a lot of people take home with them. What I've found is that I'm at my best when I can help other people take what their ideas are and, you know, and really develop it to what they're trying to get out and get their messages out. So not necessarily a coach, not, you know, somebody like a business partner, but somebody who's kind of been through the motions of starting up and things like that. So that's what I'm working on. That's my long-term goal is I want to help people get through the startup phases. Eventually I'd like to be an angel investor for people as well. You know, things like that. So, but I've just been through the struggles that many, you know, new business owners, you know, have been through. So, I mean, that's my goal is to eventually do that. That's my plug. I don't have anything serious. I'm looking for somebody that's more of like a partner who wants to fill that role with me as well. And that's taking some time. So the one thing I've learned, man, is you'll never get anybody to work as hard at your dream as you. So if somebody's out there who likes that kind of thing, you know, you pass it along.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So who's your ideal customer?
It depends on what you're talking about. Anybody who's moving, you know, I can hook anybody up in the moving business, junk removal businesses. I still do jobs on a small scale for people, more as a favor-based thing, but I know tons of people who do it that are reputable, that give people. So, I mean, really, Josh, I'm certainly a referral machine for a lot of things. You know, I'll tackle a lot of projects for people when it makes sense financially, especially if they're, you know, in a number crunch situation. I like to be counted on for that guy. You know, whether, you know, it's moving, junk removal, you know, if recently Paul Snyder, you know, I know he does a lot of foreclosure properties and typically the yards are overgrown. I love going out there and getting dirty, cutting people's yards down, doing stuff like that. So those are my bread and butter things. I don't try to get too fancy with it. I rely on other people. Eventually I'm going to get into the storage unit business. I'll have a storage unit. Kind of makes sense to go with the moving business, but I'm not there yet. I'm just taking my time, baby steps.
Cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Oh, man.
I got to make you think, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you get used to hearing them, and I've never received compliments well because I'm always looking to do something better. So it's you kind of got me. The best compliment I think that I've ever gotten is that that I'm a good father. I value that more than any amount of money I'll ever make, more than any project I'll put my name on. I care that my kids understand what they mean to me, and I care that they know that I know what they mean to me as well. So it's a two-way street. Being a father is probably the best blessing I think anybody could ask for. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So I got 2 questions for you. And this next one, it's always a tough one, right? So here we go. At your funeral, what's the one thing that you hope people will say about you? Like, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
The stupid guy never gave up.
Oh man, that was easier than I thought.
And I'll be late.
And what was the other one?
I'll be late to my own funeral.
Exactly. I want to be late too. Dude, that's good. That's really good. Oh man. So what should I ask you that I didn't know enough to ask?
Oh, down the road, I really love real estate, man. And I admire, watching, the things that you and Judah have put out over the last couple of, I think now it's been like 2 years. I've been watching some of your guys' content at this point. I really like the environment that you guys have created in which I participate in. And there's a lot of people I see potential for myself to do business with, including yourself and him. I think that there's a lot of people that are starting to see why it's more important to work together. And I think that you and Judah have had a lot to do with that. And I think a lot of people are just trying to find their role. And I think if everybody just, kind of works together, that, the past year has been really tough for a lot of people, whether it be tenants or landlords, things like that. I get it. But there is a way out of it. And, I'd like to think that the people that I know and talk to and do business with aren't stupid, and that, people that are struggling right now, that just ask the right questions. And, people will answer. Nobody wants, I don't think anybody, really gets off watching somebody struggle or, things like that. That's generally more people I think find joy in helping other people. And if not, I'd like to at least think that. So, but that's something that I really like to do. So, if there's something that I can help out with and be a resource, man, that's, I give a lot of my time to various different things, where it makes sense and where I can be an asset. And actually my best friend told me this morning, he told me that, I asked this question a lot, I said, let me know what I can do for you that, I can be an asset to you. And he told me this morning, he's like, one day that question is going to make you a lot of money. That's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, you're probably right. I was like, I'm just trying to find another project that I enjoy doing. It's like, yeah, I just like to occupy my time, stay busy.
Well, so it's interesting the way I don't know, it's interesting how you pulled on, tenants and landlords and like seemingly these adversarial groups, or at least a lot of people in real estate would think that, and a lot of tenants would think that. But the truth is, you're really working together here. It's, if it's done well, the landlord, their job is to provide a good place to live. And the tenant, their job is to enjoy the place and take care of it while they live there, not trash it, not be slobs. But at the same time, it's the landlord's job not to be a scumbag landlord either. And I think if everybody were to approach an interaction, a relationship, but even an adversarial one with, hey, how can I help them get what they want? Like you're saying, how can I help them get what they want? And then how can they help me get what I want? And like it just changes the conversation, and it's a completely new dynamic.
Good example. How many times does a good tenant's lease end, but the landlord never takes the time to even ask the tenant, well, where are you looking to move to? They might have 30 other properties in their portfolio that they didn't even, think about, like, oh, well, I have this one over here. Not everybody wants to be a homeowner. Like everybody, everybody's got this idea that the American dream is owning a home. It's quite honestly, it's a huge headache. If it's not if you're not treating it like a business, you honestly probably shouldn't. That's my advice. That's, take it with salt.
Well, and vice versa. Like, think about the moving business. Nobody likes to move. It's the
No.
worst thing ever. I mean, it's at the top of the list of things that you should go see a psychiatrist about. Like, I mean, people have breakdowns in their life when they're moving and changing jobs and having kids and like all of these things happen.
Mhm.
Why would you ever want them to move out? And why would they want to move? You know, so like, that's right. Ask the question. Like,
relationship, they're not going to go anywhere.
right.
Maybe change the house, but they're not going to go anywhere. If you know, if it's a good, mutually respectable relationship, let the person make the money who's making the money, on the property, and let the tenant take care of the property the way they see fit, as long as it's, like I said, mutually respectable. Generally, you're going to have a lot better turnout that way. It's the same thing. It's the same thing I try to fix with businesses, is employee retention rate. You can't. If you don't invest in the darn people that work for you and you just keep hiring new people, you're going to always be stuck there. And everybody's talking about scalability, but what are they really doing to scale?
Right. And respect goes a long way. Long way. I mean, you can say the most awful things to people if you're respectful about it. And like, when I say the most awful people, like, you can present very terrible situations. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, some situations, there's no good outcome. No. Hey, look, you haven't paid your rent in a year and you don't have the money to pay it. But treating those people with respect and helping them as,
they know that.
Right.
At the end of the day, they're just hoping to not be dehumanized in that situation.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's a perfect explanation, man. Jeremy, I got to tell you, I really enjoyed talking to you. This has been long coming. I mean, for about a year, I've been wanting to pick up the phone and call you, and it's always, I'll give him a ring tomorrow. I'll give him a ring tomorrow. And I'm sorry, I got egg on my face for that.
No, you're fine. Like I said, I love being a participant when it makes sense. I know a lot of things. I'm the jack of all trades, but the master of none. So, I mean, that's, one day I will have my mark somewhere in the real estate world that's beyond just moving cleanups and, landscaping, things like that. But I just don't know what I want to do yet. As a good example of that, Josh, is, I mean, I bought a home when I was 19, and I had my young kids and everything. And obviously things didn't work out. So, we don't have that anymore. But I don't own my own home right now. And of course I know the value of, owning a home and things like that right now, but I've learned a lot from a lot of people over the last little bit. I'm going to wait my turn. No, I'm going to find my perfect little situation, but believe me, when I do find it, it's going to pay dividends, and I know it's going to be the right move. So, and I learned a lot, a lot amount of stuff from a lot of people, including yourself. So, and I thank a lot of those people for that. So, a lot of people, they don't have to, they just don't have to.
Well, that's the whole thing about home ownership. It can either be a blessing or a curse, just like an investment property. I mean, like, if you are not financially in a position to buy a home or an investment property, or, it's just not that season of life where, I mean, shoot, if you're going to be living somewhere for 3 years, you're going to be paying all interest for 3 years anyway on your mortgage. And unless we're in a market like we have today where things are going crazy with pricing, you're going to owe probably more than the house is worth when you leave, So there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot that, I mean,
I have so many other commitments. The last thing I need is a commitment to a house.
Right.
It.
Exactly.
I need to be in another state, for a project that's going on. I can't see paying rent at a place or a mortgage, and then I'm over here doing this project and I'm never home. It's not going to make sense. So, and for the large part of my 20s, anybody that's in their 20s trying to figure life out, there's some people that they have a good friend. He made a lot of money over in the Columbia borough. A lot of people knock that borough and say there's no money over there. He made over $100,000 off of the property that he bought when we were 18, sold last year. So believe me, there's money.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, so Jeremy, if we got somebody watching this show and they're like, man, I need that guy. I need the guy to share a dream with. I need somebody to, help be my hands and feet in the streets, or, how do we get in touch with you?
I mean, Facebook is always the best way to get in touch with me. I spend a large majority of my time on there, reaching out, referring people, finding work, finding employees, all of that stuff. That's the best place to reach me. I think that's probably the best social media platform where people engage the most on. So, you guys want to get a hold of me, that's the best place. My phone number, Josh, feel free to post that up there. I'm an open book.
Okay.
You can call, message me anytime. Just try not to get me after kids go to bed.
That's awesome. So yeah, it'll be right here streaming on the bottom of the page. Reach out to Jeremy if you have any questions, if you'd like to hook up with him and just even talk or have a beer or, you know, have him do some work or move you, or my goodness, you got a lot going on, Jeremy. You got a lot going on. It's awesome.
I do. Oh, I can tell you more later.
That's awesome. All right, guys, thanks for joining us today. If you'd like to reach out to Jeremy, like I said, his information's at the bottom of the page here. You can reach out to me if you need a hard money loan. Otherwise, hey, enjoy the rest of your day. Go out and make some money, and we'll see you soon. Take care.